much better shape this morning than mine. Kind of a funny story. I did get an email this week that said someone in the Lytle family has communion meditation. I thought about volunteering my wife, but then I thought better of it, and that would have put me on the prayer list this morning. She likes public speaking about like a root canal, so actually she's probably really nervous right now. Don't look at her, please. This is not going to go well. By the way, Dave Bowman, if anyone ever prays for me, I hope it's what it sounds like. That guy can pray, and he can pray. I'm entering the back half of my life if I'm not in there yet. I'm 45, and some of you just snickered about that in one of two ways, like you're still pretty young or, man, you're old. And some days I feel like both. But, you know, if you know me well, you know I'm a hard charger. You know, I say yes a lot, and that's just, I attribute those things. So as you get to this time of your life, you start looking back at things, and why do you do the things you do, and why are you the way you are? And I was 14 years old, and human beings do what human beings do. Men that I respected and cared for let me down. And I had made a commitment right then and there, like, no one will ever do that to me again. You know, I'm going to be strong enough, smart enough, fast enough, whatever it takes. Like, no one's ever going to let me down again. I'm going to do that. Well, I started dating Amy, and she took me to church, and I found Jesus, and then I realized I can't do it on my own. So then my mantra became, okay, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure the blessings I get put me in place. So, you know, you go about living your life, and so as you look at the way I do things, the way I approach things, I'm not trying to be a jerk, I'm not trying to be pushy, I got to drive, and that's just the way I'm built. And if you'd ask me what my biggest fear is, it's not being able. It's not being able. And my biggest fear came true this year in May. So if you saw me, I had that awesome sling for 8 weeks. You know, I got, thank God, I'm 45 years old. I got my first big injury in my life. And, you know, when you're 45 and someone's got to help you bathe, and you can't carry a grocery sack, and you can't open a door, and you can't drive, and, you know, you start feeling sorry for yourself. And, you know, I can remember sitting and I can't remember exactly who it was, but I was sitting and I was watching social media, and I was feeling sorry for myself, you know, and whatever it was, and something come up, and someone was going through something much worse than a shoulder. It's not that big of a deal, right? And they were just completely positive. And I thought, okay, this isn't that bad. But, you know, I think that the lesson it taught me was you always have plans. So my sons had graduated. I had been coaching sports, 2 varsity sports for 8 years, burning it at both ends, pretty tired. I had committed that I was done coaching verbally. Mentally, I had not committed to that yet. I was still wrestling with that. So magically, a couple weeks before practice starts, I'm pretty much rendered useless. I was trying to do too much in the business that I run for my job, and I wasn't allowing others to do enough. And well, when you can't drive, you can't do what I do very well without the help of others. So I had to reinvest and be a better coach and be a better mentor to the folks that were in the business with me, and let them do what they were supposed to be doing. And I didn't have to micromanage anything, which I try not to do, but you know, you find yourself doing at times. So I always, and I've said this a few times when I spoke up here, you have plans. You know, we'll say all the time, well, it's God's plan, I'm going to do where he puts me, but you have plans. Like in your mind, if you're any kind of human, you're driven and you've got plans, whatever those might be. It might just be for lunch today, but you've got plans. Like you've got things you think you're going to do, and God has plans that may be completely different than what you do and want to do. And so I watched something with Steve Harvey, and I'm a Steve Harvey fan. You can take him or leave him. I guess it doesn't hurt my feelings if you're not, but I think he's a really cool story and a really good guy. And he was talking to a guy who lost his job in 08 and 09. And this was an old clip. And the guy was asking him for advice. What do I do? I'm overqualified. I'm applying for jobs. People are telling me no. This is who I am. I don't understand what I should be doing with my life. And Steve goes, what are you good at? And he said, well, I'm good in the kitchen. I'm a really good cook. I like to cook. And he goes, what were you doing? He's like, well, I was a sales engineer. And he goes, God's telling you it's time to go cook. You know, if you're good at cooking, go cook. So I think that sometimes my point of all this, and I've thrown a lot at you here, and I wasn't trying to talk about myself, but I feel like this event in our service is really trying to tie personal life into the ministry, into the word. My point is, listen. sometimes God is talking to you saying, hey, you need to go do this. And we fight it and fight it and fight it because it's uncomfortable. But just listen. And when he pushes you a certain direction and when he's talking to you, listen. I encourage you, I do a lot of driving, and you can only listen to so much music and so much podcast. Sometimes I'm just silent. I start it with a prayer, and then I just drive for like an hour with nothing going on. And it's just amazing, the things that start to come to me and that I start to think about and have those conversations with myself, with God, and all of a sudden, something that seems so twisted up and convoluted is simple in my mind by the time I stop that drive. A few scriptures I've put up with this morning is James 1, 2 through 4. Count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials in various kinds, for you know the testing of your faith produces steadfastness or endurance. And then 2 Corinthians 4, 8 through 9. We are hard pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair, persecuted, but not abandoned, struck down, but not destroyed. I think that wherever you are in your life, whatever's going on, I saw you this morning, Tony. I was thinking about you when I was writing this, when you hurt your feet. I was like, I can't imagine. I was sitting there whining about one arm. I can't imagine not having both feet. And, whatever you're going through, someone's probably going through worse. It's not as bad as you think, and it's not as good as you think where you're at. But just listen. Pray, listen. He's going to guide you. Once he tells you where to go and gives you the shove, lean into it. Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a great week.